that someone who works with one of the top IT companies in the world just doesn't want to come into the office. That's something that TCS is now facing, as per a report in the Economic Times. With fear surrounding COVID-19 receding, obviously more and more corporates are urging their employees to get back to the office, return to the workplace. But India's biggest IT service provider, TCS, is grappling with the continued unwillingness of a large number of its millennial employees to come back to office. In fact, remember, TCS had announced a new 25-25 model, which will now be implemented by the next 2 years. Essentially, that model means that only a quarter of their company's 500,000 employees will be required to work from the office at any given time, and they will put this into practice by 2025. They will also need to spend only a quarter of their time in the office. So all of this is there down the road, but these millennial employees don't even want to wait till 2025. Not more than 20% of TCS employees are willing to return to the workplace. So imagine this, if companies like TCS are struggling to get employees to office, how will others fare? Has the way the workplace functions truly changed, or is this now restricted to a very small set of employees? The bigger question, do these age group of employees, we're talking about millennials and maybe Gen Z as well, just not want to return to the traditional workplace? And what are the implications of this? To speak on some of these issues, I am joined today by Rituparna Chakraborty, co-founder of TeamLease, Sashi Kumar, MD of Indeed India, and Aditya Mishra, Director and CEO of Ciel HR Services. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us today on the India Development Debate. Rituparna, let me start with your point of view. We always knew that there was this hesitation of people who wanted to continue with the work from home process, and there are a number of reasons. Many of them get to live in their hometowns where the cost of living is much cheaper. They don't have to commute. They save more of their salary. There's comfort there. But imagine if employees of a TCS also are resisting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a difficult spot for an organization like TCS, and I was reading the comments made by the TCS spokespeople, and I'm somehow in sync with the view that, especially when there are new incumbents in the organization, right, and these are youngsters who've been recently hired, and while there was a situation during the pandemic where you didn't have the option but to kind of work from home, but now that all of that is behind us, to kind of integrate them into the ethos, the culture, get them into aligned with the purpose of the organizations, they do need some time meeting other colleagues, you know, in the office, brainstorming. So it's a catch-22, and it's something, honestly, a difficult position for the organization. And if it is, like you rightly said, if it is a struggle for TCS, I'm sure it's a struggle for the other employers. But I think some of it is also on account of some of the earlier narrative, which was strongly proposing that everything will probably move to a work from home kind of a situation. However, every organization has realized that that's really not practical. I mean, that's just another very extreme view of how you can run the organization. So I guess we'll have to, this is not something that we can wish away. This is something that organizations will have to and are probably already dealing with. But one way of looking at it is, let's create incentives for these youngsters. How about having offices, even if they're not, let's say Bangalore was a hub. It used to attract a lot of kids and from all parts of the country. Now these people have gone back, and these are the ones who want to work from home. Well, let them stay near where they are, but how about having smaller, you know, satellite offices of, let's say, the likes of TCS or other tech organizations, even any beyond technology, honestly, where you are able to bring them for collaboration, but they're still not very far off. So that's probably the immediate future, and probably one way of bridging the current challenge that many organizations are going through. But it's clear, Tamanna, that complete 100% remote, 100% work from home for critical mass, especially new incumbent may not really work well for organizations.
No, I think it's also a story about how this group of employees look at their options and what they want their everyday work-life balance to look like. It's a big part of it, isn't it, Sashi Kumar? They are not feeling completely pressured to toe the line, and which is why they've not hot-footed it back.
So obviously things have changed, right? I mean, if you have to look at specifically at data, currently about 7.9% of all searches that happen on Indeed in India are for remote jobs, compared to pre-pandemic levels of about under 2%, even 1.2% odd. So clearly there's a preference to search.
So it's a 4-time jump. It's gone from about 2% to 8%.
Under 2%. It never even reached 2%. I think the best it was around 1.4, 1.5%. So now it's the moving average, the 7-day moving average is about 7.5%. So it's a significant increase in the number of people who are looking for remote jobs. While obviously it's not possible in all industries, this is not the expectation the largest part of our workforce has. Most of them are still coming into work because the work demands it. People who are in banks, in retail, in many other industries where working from home is not possible. But obviously in tech, it has worked well. People have been able to get some sort of a balance, while we did have people talking about losing work-life balance because they're working from home, but looks like that's not a big concern. They don't want to come back, right? So that is definitely a concern. I think companies are reevaluating the strategy. My view is that hybrid is what is going to be, it is going to be in the future. But clearly there is resistance. Habit has developed over the last 2 years. I think companies will now have to think of what they can do, what strategies they need to employ to get people back, if they want to get people back. There are many companies that have said that they're happy to sort of extend remote working for their employees in the near future as well.
The question over here is, and let me get Mr. Mishra in, is at the end of the day, is this about moonlighting as well? It's the elephant in the room, because you have all of these companies saying that moonlighting, many of them saying moonlighting is just cheating, you can't do it. And working from home has given a section of employees the flexibility to do more than one job, make more money than they were otherwise, and optimize the use of their day. And that's part of the issue.
Yeah, I think a couple of things happened during this pandemic. One is there was a huge demand of IT professionals during this period because all industries globally wanted to digitize. So the demand for IT professionals increased. And secondly, a lot of these IT professionals were working from home, and hence they had the time. Some of them had the bandwidth, and the employers did not do their due diligence process as strictly as they were. And as a result, a lot of these people were able to pick up another job on the side, either for financial gains or for professional, stimulation. So that something stimulating work has come, maybe the regular work is not as interesting, right? That's the reason. But moonlighting, we think that about 30% of the employees, sometime or the other, have done some kind of moonlighting. One might not have really made financial gain out of it, but one did it because of whatever reason. So I think that the world of work is changing. Every organization needs to adapt to it. The new discovery that organizations have made, and the millennials, the Gen Z, and all these people have made, that work can be done remotely. However, there are some instances, some situations where they need to sit across the table, sit around the table, solve the problem together, brainstorm and all of that. So for certain situations where people need to come together, or maybe the situation that Ritu pointed out, that the new incumbents need to get to understand the ethos and culture of the organization. So those are situations where people need to be together. So organizations have to find a way of dealing with it. Of course, for some organizations, it doesn't matter at all. For example, a construction company, a pharma, a manufacturing company, for them, you cannot sit at home and build a bridge or a road.
Clearly, it's a no-brainer in some sectors. Clearly, in some organizations, there will be people who are willing to come in, and others want people to come in for cultural purposes and integration, etc. My question is, if such a large part of your workforce pushes back, what can you really do? Ritu, I want to come to you on this. Is it going to come down essentially to it's my way or the highway? Or will management, will companies have to, find a middle ground over here, realizing that a huge crop of the workforce, which is of a certain generation, and they're going to make up the majority of the workforce, has a very different point of view?
Yes. So, but then, true. I think organizations' first preference would be to find a midway. And I think one of the midways that some organizations are already looking at is let's go and set up closer hubs to where most of our talent is, right? So that's an option that many organizations have already actively started looking at. However, no employer likes, to be blackmailed, if I may say so, into a situation or cornered into a situation, and hence, I guess, if the resistance is beyond reasonable, the likes of TCS are strong enough brands to be able to make choices and decisions which are market leading. Like we have seen some of the choices that this IT sector has made in spite of the huge attrition issue around variable pay, around performance pay, around wage hikes. So at some point, the organizations will obviously become more firmer in their stance. If it is something which is essential from the perspective of future growth and alignment of the organization. So yes, the preferred choice would be to kind of find a midway path for the next year or so. But then I actually think that if they have to put their foot down, they will at some point. So it's not that it would be like completely determined by the workforce in terms of how this works. So yeah, I think we'll have to wait and watch this, because not too many people can really arm twist the likes of these major tech companies.
Obviously, perhaps not beyond a point, and we aren't a nation that has a problem with too much employment opportunity. We have an unemployment problem. So obviously there are enough people to fill in that position, but that's not the only part of the story. Sashi, there was a report a few days ago, a week ago actually, that the government is considering making 100% work from home a possibility and allowing it, especially in special economic zones. Let me also add to this the fact that India wants to increase its female labor participation rate to 50%, in the next 25 years. That's the target we've kept, and work from home will play a big part in it. Will companies now have to start keeping in mind that face time in the office is something that they will have to give in a little on?
So I think it's also a function of demand and supply, right? In the sense that as and when companies realize that they need talent, while you're right in saying that India has an unemployment crisis, but specifically when you're looking at tech and specifically when you're looking at experiences over 5 or 6 years, there is shortage of quality talent. So depending on how demand goes, depending on the availability of some supply, smart companies will make their own decisions. They will take a very critical look at what the the challenges are with people working from home, what are the drawbacks, and see if there's an alternative to correct those drawbacks and give people what they want so that they're able to become more attractive to talent. Two, like you rightly said, I think the IT world has almost 40 to 45% women participation at the entry level. But as you go higher, it definitely decreases. Is work from home a solution to that? Possibly, yes. So there are many facets. There are many ways in which companies will see this play out. If there's a pushback, if there's demand, if we see growing demand for IT roles, growing demand for IT business, we will see that companies will look at coming at some kind of midpoint, so that they don't have to compromise on the quality of candidates. They are able to hire more equitably, because that's also important from their client's perspective. And three, they don't have a unusually challenging attrition problem, which is currently definitely a problem.
Also, just to add to this, if I can add a very small thing, that as in future hybrid work environment mid path that happens, managers need to have the skill to kind of handle a workforce which is spread across a region. Some people are in the office, some people are remote. So how do you engage with them? Today, I think many managers are struggling with it. So that is something the organizations have to also think about and upskill or re-equip their managers to handle a geographically distributed workforce, some from home, some from office.
Okay. The other aspect to this is, and last week when we were talking about what happened with the Bengaluru floods, I was speaking with Nitin Kamath on this, and he had a suggestion that work from home will have to become part and parcel of certain industries. Zerodha, for example, has 50% of their staff working remotely, because that is the only solution to sustainable urban development. Instead of having everyone flood into big cities, to big headquarters, to big centers, and then find homes there, etc. Your views on this, Ritu, on how in the long term we will have to recast the way that we look at work, because a lot of Indian companies look at the workplace in a very traditional manner, you may agree, where the promoter, and I'm not talking about the large ones, but a bulk of Indian companies, where the promoter or the top management wants to see that face time. They want to see those X number of hours spent in the workplace, and is not necessarily okay with just specific tasks being completed. Your views on this, Ritu?
So my views on this is that I think the problem where everyone is flooding to the cities for jobs, the answer doesn't really lie in work from home and work from office. It's a much bigger macro problem for India, because India has not been able to create the 350 cities that China has with more than 1 million people and which are job magnets. So there is a much bigger macro agenda which one is to look at, and I don't think we'll be able to. We can solve that problem for few technology experts and highly elite class of workers with and take a view on work from home and work from office. But the larger cross section of India who are still flooding into the cities for opportunities, I don't think for them that problem gets solved. So I guess I'm not too sure that Bangalore will suddenly become less crowded and less populated if we announce a work from home policy for everyone, because honestly, a very tiny cross-section of people can actually avail of this opportunity, even in a city like Bangalore. And the worst part is that when the Bangalore floods hit, everyone's narrative was work from home, without realizing that many lives got affected who can't work from home, and because of the floods they were affected, their employment and livelihood was affected.
Yes,
so that's my view on that.
I suppose the question is, those that can work from home, should they be encouraged to?
Yes, I think that's become the basic fabric of every organization right now, Tamanna. All organizations who can provide that infrastructure to its employee to be in case of an emergency or an exigency to work from home, I think currently pretty much by and large exists with, I would not say every organization, but even with a lot of traditional organizations have made efforts on that front. So from being equipped, from infrastructurally equipped in terms of having the right kind of security in place, I think that's pretty much there. And I don't think any organization is letting go of that very soon, because what happened in pandemic is a once in a lifetime for many companies, and I'm not sure people will forget that experience. So to answer your question, we are ready. But the question is, which I actually wanted to bring in a little bit of a different perspective. Tamanna, we are always taking a perspective of employer and organizations wanting them to come to office, and employees do not want to come to office. I actually feel there would soon be a time, now is probably not the right time, where employees will understand the need for them also to come and build those social capital and how it affects their career movement. At the moment, there is an inertia which is in favor of wanting this millennium wanting to work from home. When it comes to the future of their career and their career growth and jump, there would be also a push coming in, or a need from these guys to come to office in itself, because that makes a difference.
You know, in the words of Harsh Goenka, who loves to tweet out live thoughts and also WorkX experience, he tweeted out a few days ago that if you want to sort of coast along in your career, you work from home, work from anywhere, have these flexible hours. If you want to really get somewhere, then be ready to put in the grind. Sashi, is that old school thinking, or is that the reality today?
So I want to completely agree with that, in the sense that if companies want people to come back to work, yes, absolutely. But saying that if you're working from home doesn't means that you're not putting in the hard yards. I think a lot of people who've gone through these last 2 years have put in significant amount of work, even working from home. So to that extent, I don't agree with them. But I think, like Ritu said as well, this cannot be a solution to cities' population problems. People come to Bangalore not just to work, it's because of the quality of life, whatever it is, but also education. You want your children to have a good quality of education. That's unfortunately not there as much as we'd like it in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But back to your question, I think, yes, partly right, but I think there are parts which are not completely right as well.
Right, I have to wrap, but quick last word from Aditya on this whole divide: employees, employers, old school, new age, work from home, let people work from anywhere as long as they do the work.
Yeah, I think we should let people work from anywhere if it works with the organization. And there are certain situations where people need to come together. I think all of us need to accept that. The employees need to accept that. The employers need to accept that. I think it's a misnomer that if you are working from home, you are not working hard. There are many people actually who want to come to office because they're working at home is becoming quite stressful for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. So the verdict is still not out yet. The interesting thing is that the younger workforce is pushing back. They are not catching the next bus, flight, train back to their headquarters as soon as they get the call. They're saying, listen, we're okay doing what we're doing. They're having that conversation. Let's see which side finally prevails. Thank you to all of you for joining us on the debate this evening.
Thank you.